In this video, I'm going to show you 4 tactics you can use right now in your business to massively boost your profits, and 2 of them are free. You can deploy these in your business without having to spend $1 more in paid ads or learn some other skill that has some secret long-term learning curve attached to it. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'm a full-time Amazon seller of 15 years, co-host of the Wizards of Ecom podcast, and founder of the largest Amazon seller meetup group in the world. Revenues are vanity and profits are sanity. Truer words have never been spoken. Imagine this with me. Close your eyes, and if you don't trust me enough yet for that, no worries whatsoever. Just after you listen to this, hit pause, scrub back, and then listen to it again with your eyes closed. This could very well be the most important lesson that I have to share with you. So imagine you're an 8-figure seller selling close to 16 million in revenues, and as you pull up to the gas pump, you start cycling through a series of last 4 digits in your head of credit cards. So like Amex 1283, Discover 4657, Capital One. You're doing this not to impress your girlfriend with some fancy chunks of plastic. You're not doing it because you're a credit card points sensei, but rather you're trying to find any one of your credit cards that are not going to decline at the pump. So you step out of the car, quickly call your business partner and ask, hey, is there any room on the Amex? So panic averted, you pull away from the gas pump and the charade continues. This was totally me over a decade ago, and you're probably extraordinarily dumbfounded how somebody could be doing 16 million in sales on Amazon, but be barely able to put gas in at the pump. I assure you, it is quite easy to do, and in another video, I'll share with you all the gory details as to how it happened to me. For now, though, sum it up as this: an absolutely unhealthy focus on revenue and this blind assumption that as long as revenues are up, then all is good. This facade eventually crumbles the same way mine did. In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 ways you can immediately boost your profits now so you don't have to experience this like I did. The first one on my list is Tariff Terminator. Where has this been my whole life? If you're a private label seller or you're involved in any way, it could be wholesale, private label, with importing products into the United States for sale, then you must reach out to Tariff Terminator. There's a tariff on that product, and the amount of that tariff is going to depend on the code that's used. It's going to depend on the country it came from, the category that it's in, the material that it's made out of. And most sellers, they just allow the factory to assign a code for them on these products when they're shipping the product that the factory thinks is a good fit, or they only give a brief description of the product to their freight forwarder, who then in turn gives them a code based on their experience. Sometimes this code is correct. Many times it is not, and rarely ever is it the best option. When I first started importing wooden cigar humidors, my freight forwarder assigned the code for me which was for wood. Specifically though, it was for untreated lumber. Absolute hell broke loose when this thing reached the port of Miami. The Lacey Act, the product seized, massive delays, even worse, profit-crushing penalties. It took me years and literal millions in overpaid tariffs to finally settle on a tariff code that at the end of the day covered like wooden jewelry boxes and was only like 1% to 2%. I interviewed one of the co-founders, Afolabi Oyerukan, on episode 328 of the Wizards of Ecom podcast, and he shares several other examples of how Tariff Terminator reduces or just flat out eliminates your tariffs. I highly recommend listening to it, and I'll link to this episode in the description. Since this episode, several members of the Wizards of Ecom community have implemented it. They've reached out to Tariff Terminator. They've asked them to check out their stuff, and now they are saving tens of thousands of dollars per order. I cannot emphasize enough how important I think Tariff Terminator is for boosting your profits. So let's say that you're ordering $100,000 in product and you're paying a 20% tariff when the product actually enters the country. So how this works is you just contact Tariff Terminator. They find a better code to classify your products, and they reduce this by 5%. Obviously, you can't do this once, the cat's out the bag and the products are actually here in the United States and you're saying, oh my God, I really don't like this tariff. This needs to be done before the products are actually shipped. So you connect with Tariff Terminator, they find a better code and classify your products. You go from 20% and now you're down to say 5% in this example. So you go from paying $20,000 in tariffs to only paying $5,000. So an instant $15,000 in profit. Now, assuming that you're turning your inventory 3 times per year, you've just boosted your profit margin by $45,000. Even sweeter, and it's pretty hard to get sweeter than that, but even sweeter is this service is absolutely free. This is one of those pay-per-performance like models. I think Afolabi's a bit nuts here, but don't tell him. And the service is free. This is how they make money. So it's not a too good to be true thing. You contact them. You let them know about your product, you show them your product, they look at your tariff and they find a better one for you. If they cannot, you pay nothing. And if they do, and you're going to be saving tens of thousands of dollars per order, I think it's like $300. So you do not pay unless you make a lot of money. This is an absolute no-brainer. I've left a special link, my link for Tariff Terminator below in the description. So act on it now. Pause if you want, go down at the bottom, check it out. My next profit maximizer addresses the absolutely depressing area of lost inventory, damaged inventory, returned inventory, destroyed and or disposed of inventory, overcharged Amazon fees, all that stuff. So the list goes on and on here. If you sell on Amazon, Amazon loses a lot of stuff and they owe you a bunch of money. So these 5 that I just named are just, 5 random ones, but the list truly goes on, and Amazon owes you money in every one of these instances. Discovering the discrepancies here between what Amazon sent you and what they should send you, making inquiries on them, fighting Amazon over them, proving your case, and then once you've done all that, following up on all this, it either takes more time than you have in the day, or it requires you to hire somebody to hunt it all down. Because of this, what I see is that most sellers, they're wearing all the hats in the business and they just absolutely ignore this area of the reimbursements and reconciliations, leaving just all their hard-earned profits on the table. I highly recommend Getida for this. Getida is a tech solution that I like to say automatically hunts down all these Amazon discrepancies and compels Amazon to give you your profits back. So since we're talking about profits here, Getida does not charge you a dime to work with you. Getida is a pure pay per performance, very similar to how we just talked about Tariff Terminator by Honu Worldwide. So if they don't recoup money for you that Amazon owes you, then they don't get paid, just flat out. So if they do find money you're owed, then they do. They take a percentage of the recovery, and then you just wake up and you see, oh wow, what is this deposit from Getida? And just money appears in your account that is yours. It's your money. Any money that they do recover and that does pop up in your business and that you had already wrote off that you weren't going to receive, this is 100% profit. So here's a wizard tip for you. So I guess we call them wizard tip. You might be hearing about Getida for the first time. And if so, it's because you haven't attended any conferences or trade shows in the space. But if you have already heard of a service that does, reimbursements and recovery solution stuff, I don't suggest leaving them. Stick with them and just hear me out. So one of the things I'm in love with about Getida is they're not one of these companies that are going to come tell you like, oh, you need to stop working with such and such and you got to work with us because we're better. Not at all. They're going to tell you to stay where you're at. Just stay where you're at. Let your in-house team, you let your, ABC company go in, recover all the absolute profits that they feel that Amazon owes you. And then once they're done that month and you've recovered everything you can, let them come in, plug them in and let them come in and get the scraps, if you will. And there's a lot of scraps that I see people missing. So nearly everyone in our Wizards of Ecom community is extremely hooked on Getida. And I've left an extraordinarily generous link that they've created for our community of where your first $400 that they recover is absolutely free, meaning they're not even going to take a percentage of the first $400. They get that back, your $400, you get the entire $400 of that. And I'm going to leave the link for that deal in the description below of this video. Number 3 on my list, but my number 1 favorite way to maximize profits in my Amazon business right now is on-site support. So this is by far the most powerful tool that you can use on Amazon right now, hands down. There's not even a close second. So in my opinion, on-site support should be used by every single seller on Amazon, unless you suffer from this condition known as not liking profits. It's an absolute no-brainer. So on-site support boosts profits more than anything else I have seen in the last 15 years as an Amazon seller, and they do it in 3 pretty strategic ways. So 1, they cut down on your returns. Second one is they increase your likelihood of getting a positive review. And the third one, and this is one of my favorite, is it decreases the chances you have of getting negative reviews on Amazon. So it's freaking mental. And this is how they do it. When a buyer tries to process a return or leave a review on Amazon, instead of only seeing the yellow buttons for a return and review, they're now going to be confronted with a prominent yellow button urging them to get product support. So this button, once it's clicked, then redirects them to a gorgeous branded landing page, which by the way is created courtesy of on-site support, where you're going to be able to have a live chat with the actual customer, which that's not a misstatement. They're like, normally you cannot chat with Amazon buyers and everyone's going out of their way to figure out how to do this. Amazon's now going to let you with on-site support. So somebody has an issue, you want to chat with them, right? You want to be able to talk to this person and avoid the return, the negative review, everything. So one of these things you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to have a live chat with the customer. Something else you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to share product videos, FAQs, upsells, downsells. You're going to be able to avoid returns. The opportunities with on-site support is truly endless. I mean, this is totally mental here. It's not a question as to whether you should have on-site support. I think it should be seen as you are irresponsible if you don't. On-site has cut my returns down by close to 40%. Now, that is not the percentage that they guarantee when somebody becomes a member. And obviously, this completely depends. If you don't have a really high return rate, like say in apparel, then this number totally could go down. But what sort of massive profits would you be getting if 40% of your returns were averted? Not even considering the upsells, that alone just would be massive. So another very lucrative way on-site boosts my profits is with product reviews. If you've not watched my YouTube video on Hug Your Haters and the step-by-step process of what I do to get extremely pissed off Amazon customers to leave me product reviews, I highly recommend it. But when a pissed off buyer is brought into this live chat feature of on-site support, you have the opportunity to turn that experience in the heat of the moment into an extraordinarily positive one to get a positive review on how you address the situation. So you're going to be able to turn this completely pissed off customer into a happy customer, wowing them with customer service. This person is actually ready to leave you a negative review and do a return. You're going to wow them, and you're going to just completely avoid the negative review, avoid the return, and get a positive review out of it. So any buyer you're chatting with already, you can now ask them to actually revisit the negative review. So say you're talking to somebody and they've already left you a negative review and they're going to go process the return, and you're in a chat with them working this out. You can get them to revisit that negative review. And the line I like to use is, I'd love for you to revisit this and leave a review based on the level of customer service you feel I delivered once I knew there was a problem. So this is a very, two-pronged attack on reviews. I think it's unique in the space. I highly recommend it. I consider the review portion of on-site a profit source because, and why I included here, you're like, oh my God, this is about profits. Why are you talking about reviews? Well, I place a value of $250 on a positive review. And I place a value of negative, if you will, a negative value of $2,500 on a negative review. So positive review, $250, negative review, $2,500. And any opportunity that I have to influence either one of these levers in a TOS compliant way is a huge profit maximizer for me. So if it costs me $2,500 to get a negative review removed, or if it's costing me that much in sales and I can avoid that, I look at that as a profit source as well. So on-site support, unlike Getida though, and Tariff Terminator, is not free. However, this thing pays for itself almost instantly. I mean, look at your returns and just tell yourself, maybe you're not as high as 40% like me, but say 20% of those returns are going to be able to get averted, and that you are able to tack on some extra positive reviews and avoid some negative reviews. Like, what is that cost? Well, on-site support at the time of this recording is only $299 a month, an absolute no-brainer. You get an extra free month for your first month when you sign up using my link, and I've left it in the description below. I highly recommend checking it out. It's irresponsible if you're a seller and you're not. Speaking of reviews, my last profit maximizer here is TraceFuse.ai. TraceFuse attacks reviews in a way I haven't seen anybody do to date. So what TraceFuse specializes in is getting your negative product reviews removed. Like I just mentioned, I place a negative value on reviews of $2,500. So I think that's important when you start pricing out like how to approach this. So $250 for a positive, I have a negative value of $2,500 for a negative review. So I reached this number by considering like a lot of factors. So one is lost sales opportunities because a customer was scared off by the review that I left. Another one would be ineffective hemorrhaged ad spend due to poor conversion from those negative reviews impacting your score rating. And the other one, for me, how I like to describe it, is the inverse of social proof effect, where people are more likely to leave a negative review on a product when somebody else already has. I peg the negative impact of negative reviews based on this to be about $2,500. Like that's the calculation I come up with. I'd love to hear your calculation. So if you want to discuss it in the comments, I'll break down even more where I'm coming from on this. I've built teams dedicated to aggressively learning from and attacking negative reviews just because of this. So I've compiled templates, playlists, pages of SOPs just so we can remove negative reviews tanking our sales. And I compiled all these learnings by myself over years of selling. TraceFuse does all of this for you. No need to build a team, no need to spend years losing money while learning all these different scenarios and what magical word combination unlocks a removal. If you're sitting on a bunch of negative reviews and you've not been able to remove them, you are missing out on a lot of sales and profits. So I highly recommend popping in TraceFuse.ai and watch your profits roll in almost instantly. my link to get connected with TraceFuse in the description, and they give you a super creative $500 discount. But my link to get connected with them and take advantage of that discount is in the description below. I highly recommend that you check them out. Besides the obvious benefits of more profits going into your pocket, think about how much greater the multiple will be in your exit if you accumulated all these profits and recognize them. So when you have all of these profits built in and you're going for an exit, I'll save you from doing the math. It's millions. Do yourself a favor, take advantage of these for-profit maximizers in your business, and check out my other video on Hug Your Haters so you know how to maximize that chat feature within on-site support. And I'll see you in the next video.